Hello and welcome to Mandobug Crafts, episode 128 live. What's up, everybody? But you may know me on the internet as Mandobug. My name is Amanda, and in today's podcast, I will be sharing what I've been working on, knitting, crocheting, crochet design. Hopefully, I inspire you on your making journey by sharing mine. If you're watching live, definitely jump in the comments. Let me know you're here and ask any questions that you may have throughout the episode. And if you're watching on the replay, you can ask questions in the comment section down below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Oh, good morning, Lacey. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's time for my fave podcast live. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. So Lacey wrote me in to the Marley Bird Turkey Trot Mystery Crochet Along. So that is what I'm going to be talking about, starting out with something I've learned. So where are they? Right here. So this is what it was. It was slippers or socks after all. So what I learned was a specific joining technique on the bottom of the socks. So this pattern, I believe, stays free on her blog, or you can pay for the PDF version. So I think I can go ahead and share because you can find it on her blog for free. The bottom, oh, and I forgot to mention last time, this was a collaboration between Marley Bird and Robin Chuchula. So it wasn't just a one designer type of a pattern. What I learned was how to do a single crochet joining row. So I've seen this method done before for joining blankets. I've watched tutorials on it, but I haven't actually done it. And these slippers use that. The only thing that's unfortunate is I don't know that I necessarily did it correctly. As you can see here, I think I might have gone just a little bit too far and built up a little bit too much bulk in that seaming. You can kind of like squish it around, squish it out, but there is kind of a little point there. And I have that mostly on the heel side because that's, I think, where you ended. And it's kind of on both of them here. Not as bad on this one. I think maybe I did this one second and I was a little more comfortable, but there is still kind of like a weird joining spot at both ends where you do that single crochet join row. So how it works is you single crochet a stitch and you take your hook out and you pull it through the other side of the fabric to join it. And then you go back and you single crochet on the far fabric. Take everything out, pull your working loop through the closer to you fabric, and then you go back. And so you're single crocheting a row and using that live loop to kind of like thread it through your other side to connect it. What it ends up looking like is a single crochet row with a whip stitch, but you're not actually doing any sewing. Let me see. Right here. I don't know if it'll focus. That live loop being pulled through ends up looking like a whip stitch seam, but you didn't actually whip stitch it, you just pulled the live loops through. So that was a really cool technique to finally execute. I just don't know if I love it on the bottom of these slippers, probably potentially because I am new to the technique and maybe didn't do it correctly, but also having those seams on the bottom of the slippers made my son complain. So the small size is what I made because we didn't know what we were making, and the instructions said, oh, guess what size you wear, or like the size of the person. So are you a smaller person, a medium person, larger? And I'm like, yeah, I usually wear small. So I went with small, but small ended up being the youth size, which is fine. These colors are perfect for my son, Jack. And even though I accidentally crocheted them at a tighter gauge than I was supposed to be, it made the perfect size to fit him. So little did I know, this was meant for him the whole time. So this is I don't think the name was ever changed. I still believe it's called the Marley Bird Turkey Trot Mystery Make Along for 2021. This is the crochet version. I used Trilogy Yarns Superwash Worsted in the Wicked colorway, and then this variegated stripe is Nebula. And then the green, which is showing off a little more turquoise, but it is a Christmas green, is Cascade Yarns Cascade 220 Superwash. I barely touched either of those colors. I used an entire hank of the Wicked to make the small size. So one ball with 2 scrap colors for the youth size was not too much yarn. Let me catch up in the comments because I see everybody saying good morning. OMG, I'm the worst friend. Those slippers, what a pain. So the painful thing about these slippers is the ends to weave in. So when I showed you guys last week, this has now been seamed together, but the flaps were open and you had your down the toe part. You have to weave in all the ends of the stripes up the top of the foot and then all the ends for the after slip stitch embroidery. It was so many ends and you have to do it twice. So if you're not a fan of this plaid look, you could just do the stripes and leave the plaid off and you have less ends to weave in. But yeah, the ends to weave in were definitely the most annoying part of the pattern. And then I really think I could have done a better job closing these up because those are the ends. They're a little pointy, and when I wove in the ends, it makes it even more dense in that area, which is right on the bottom of your foot, which is already sensitive. So when my son put them on, he's like, "What's in my sock?" And I was like, that's the sock." Good morning, Lori. Thanks for joining the live. Good morning, Lori. We're doing good. Good morning, Bat Stitch Crazy. You do have a cute name. Absolutely. That makes me happy. I'm glad Jack got some really cool slippers. They can be sitting in the couch slippers so the seam won't bother him. Exactly. They are worsted weight. They are crocheted. So they're very stiff, thick, and warm, which is why I've been calling them more slippers than socks. I think these are too thick to actually fit into a pair of shoes with your foot, but they will keep your toes nice and warm around the house. So yeah, if he doesn't want to walk on them, he can just cozy up and wear them on the couch. And excuse me, you don't do a lot of walking around the house too much. Well, that's not true. Jack is my busybody. He's everywhere all the time. He can't stay off his feet. But yeah, they turned out really cute. Oh, that's the other thing too, the original design. So this is the cuff that's worked afterwards, and you work it with the ribbing on the inside because they're meant to be rolled and folded. So you can see the nice texture is on the inside because it's meant to be folded, which helps snug this up against the ankle because there is no shaping here and the fabric is not stretchy. So around the ankle, the opening is a little large because you need to be able to get it over your heel. So you need that width, but in order to snug it up a bit, you can roll it down and it gives a nice tight fit around the ankle without having to do any shaping or making stretchy fabric that will stretch over your heel. He had no issues getting this on over his heel whatsoever. So I really like that touch. Also, the original pattern didn't have you seam the cuff together. You work it back and forth around and you leave it open, you fold it over, and it's on the side. They have you join on the side. There's there's a slit right here. And I sewed mine shut because I didn't want to add buttons. But there's instructions to add 2 toggle buttons and with loops that toggle them shut. I just knew that since these were for Jack, that was a bad idea. He's 5. He doesn't need to fuss with buttons on his socks. They would probably get fiddled with and pulled off anyways. So I just opted to close my cuff and roll it down that way. So yeah, so that was the mystery make along. I was duped. I thought they were mittens the last time I showed these off, and nope, they were turned into a very interesting constructed slipper, which I think was fun. I really do like trying new techniques and learning new things. Even with the pain of weaving in all the ends, it was an opportunity to learn something new, which I really enjoyed. So that was my first finished object. My other finished object is Annie's sweater. It's done. It is so stinking cute. So this is the test knit that I'm doing for Stephanie of the Crafty Garden podcast. And I forgot to mention, I have everything I plan to talk about linked down below. If we go off of kind of what I plan to talk about, I might not have those things linked down below. But this, the Crafty Garden podcast is linked down below. You can also believe it's Crafty Garden podcast on Instagram is where she'll be announcing the pattern launch when it's ready. I think on her YouTube channel as well. So you're at least safe on the YouTube channel. The name is still a secret, but I am testing the 18 to 24 month size, and it's a fingering weight Fair Isle cardigan worked in the round and steeked. So this was my first time steeking anything, which basically means you add steeking stitches that are to be cut later and secured later. And to finish off this cardigan, I did the other recommended steeking method. So I steeked the neckline using a crocheted, securing the steeks with a crochet technique. So you can see it's a little bulkier here on the edge because that is where I crocheted stitches together before I cut them. And then I sewed that down on the inside of the sweater so you don't see it. But what I realized after I did that was when I did my steeking stitches, I only locked my contrast color in one stitch. And it was always in the, I locked it. I didn't actually knit with it. I just locked it on the back end, which when you secure steeks with a crochet method, at least using the Very Pink Knits tutorial that I used, you don't actually secure anything behind the front of your knitting. So if you're securing a contrasting color, you really need to have had knit that into the steek, and I did not. So it wasn't securing my contrast color floats. I had no idea that I needed to do that. Let's see. You can see it on the sleeves here. So here is the crocheted, that thick edge is my crocheted secured edge, but it didn't catch my color work ends. You can see them poking out, which because this yarn that I used is so sticky, I'm not worried about it coming unraveled. And I could go back and just kind of hand tack those down with some thread to secure it even more. But I realized with this crocheted securing option that it wasn't securing my color work ends, which the pattern recommends to secure your steeks with a sewing machine. So this is all me adventuring off, doing it all on my own. So I had a ton of ends crossing this front steek here. So I decided to grab the sewing machine because I didn't want to have to worry about every color change down here, those ends poking out on the inside. So I don't know if you can tell. It's not as tidy as the crochet method, but I just zigzag stitched with my sewing machine over the ends, and then this is what it looks like after you cut it. So you can kind of see, I used a white thread, but you can kind of see my uneven zigzag stitching. So I do have like all these little frayed ends showing, where with the crocheted method, it hides all that and it looks much neater and tidy. I just didn't do the color work in the steeks correctly to be able to use this technique, which now I know that's the whole point of trying things for the first time, is learning. And overall, I'm not worried about it coming undone whatsoever. I've tried it on Annie. It is a little bit too big for her. She fits 18 months right now. So I think it's perfect for her to grow into. I think it fits exactly how I would expect an 18 to 24 month size to fit. And I ended up going with these pink buttons. I went back and forth on buttons. I really thought it would look more classic had I used a color to match the background, but this isn't actually white. It's an off-white. So when you put white buttons on it, they really stand out and do not look good. And I struggled to find the right off-white color, but I ordered pink and blue online, and I liked the pink the best. So that's what I ended up going with. And yeah, I am super happy overall with this pattern. It's been a really fun test knit to do for her. It literally flew off my needles. You guys barely saw me talk about this at all because it was really addicting to knit the Fair Isle color work. The yarn that I used, oh, it's all the way over there. I don't want to grab it. It's Rauma Finull, which is a Norwegian wool, and I used 5 different colors. They don't have fun colorway names. They're literally numbers, but they have like so many different colors that you can choose from. I want to say like over 50. They have several shades of every color. It's just a great yarn to choose for color work. I do have the link to where I bought it in the description below. Yeah, it was really fun picking out the colors for this. And the yarn is a more rustic type of crispy wool, but when you wash it, it fluffs up and it blooms, and it does become a little bit softer. So once I blocked it, the color work really evened out. And I don't know if you guys noticed before, but there was kind of some gapping in between the stitches, especially the white ones, and most of those have closed after blocking, and everything is nice and full and softer than it was. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say about this cardigan is I can put it over her head with the buttons closed, which was really cool. So the way the neckline is, it stretches over Annie's giant head, and I don't have to unbutton and rebutton it if I don't want to do that. So yeah. Oh, and I accidentally knit the sleeves just a little bit longer than they were supposed to be because I did a full repeat of the colors here, the blue, orange, purple, pink. I like measured and I was like, oh yeah, I have enough space to do another full color repeat. And then I did it and it was like a ½ inch too long. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to keep it. And we can just roll the sleeves up because I already did it. I like the look of the full set repeat. So yeah, that is a mystery named test knit cardigan. I will come back and mention when she releases it too, if you're interested, but you can also follow Stephanie of Crafty Garden too. Let's see. Good morning, Catherine. Hi. And Lori, that is the cutest sweater. It looks even better on Annie, doesn't it? I did put some pictures of Annie wearing it up on Instagram. I do plan on taking more to share when she does release the pattern too. I just wanted to throw it on her real quick when I finished it to send it over to Stephanie and let her know how it's fitting and how it looks. And your friend is so talented. I can't believe that is her first cardigan pattern. Yes, Stephanie is an amazing maker in general. She's sewn a lot of garments, knit a lot of garments. So going into this, she has a lot of making garment experience and Fair Isle knitting experience. So definitely a very experienced maker before attempting this pattern, but then also there's all the challenges that come with writing your own pattern too. And she just nailed it with this pattern. She is absolutely talented. And she's working on an adult version, which she just shared off in her last podcast. And I'm like telling myself that I don't need to make one because I'm already working on so many of my own garment designs, but it's really freaking cute. And she's working on being as size inclusive as possible. And I really appreciate that. I'm not going to go into details, but if you're interested, she does go into the details on it in her video. You need to get that cute tree sweater you knit out. It should fit the kids now. So what Lori's talking about is I knit a Fair Isle sweater at least 4 years ago, and I thought I measured gauge, but something went totally wrong. I think either I measured it wrong or I didn't block my swatch or something. I knit like the 2 or 3-year-old size, and this sweater came out so massive, like the size for like a 6-year-old. And so it's just been tucked in the bottom of their dressers for years now. And it probably would fit them by now. I don't remember the name of the pattern, but I remember I used Malabrigo Arroyo, which is an amazing superwash merino wool. Or maybe it's just a wool blend and not merino, but I think it's merino. It's beautiful green and white with Fair Isle trees. Yeah, I should dig that out. Oh, for sure. You want it to be a little too big at least so she can get longer wear from it. That little cardi is just beautiful and Annie looks pretty in it. Thank you, Lacey. Yeah, you do want the sleeves it's better longer than shorter, honestly. So cute. And the buttons look adorable. Thank you. I literally almost cut them all off after I put them on. I was like, they're too contrasting. I don't like it. And I was ready to cut them all off, but I didn't, and I waited, and they've grown on me. Especially the picture that I shared with Annie in the sweater, I had her in pink pants, and it kind of ties it all together. So thank you. You have got to make the Mommy and Me adult one. I know. That is what I'm thinking, but I'm just like, I don't have the time, especially because I would end up offering to be a test knitter if the spot was open. I really need to think about it, but it's really cute. It's my favorite style of pullover. It's a V-neck. It's a top-down raglan V-neck with that same design on it. I don't know. I got to think about it. Good afternoon, Habiba. Thanks for joining the live stream. So I think that was everything I wanted to mention about the test knit. Moving on to works in progress. Ugh, this cardigan's giving me grief, guys. I think that's what I get for being so excited it's going so well. So this is a new design, a new crochet design I've been working on that I've decided to name the Everyday Swing Cardigan. I'm using this amazing hand-dyed orange yarn. So this yarn is from Stardust Fiber Studios, which is a local to me indie dyer, on their Delphinus base. It's a superwash merino, 100% superwash merino sport weight. And it is so amazingly soft. I would swear there's cashmere in here. It is lovely and fluffy. I've really been enjoying working with it. And I can now say it even handles frogging and re-crocheting very well. Yeah, I had to rip this out, like a lot of it. Because, okay, so this is, I mentioned last time, this is why I'm writing the pattern as I'm following the math for it, because it's really easy to make a mistake. And I made a mistake writing out the pattern. I got to the point, let me show you, because I'm now crocheted past where I was from when I ripped out. So this is a top-down modified raglan constructed cardigan with very wide fronts meant to swing. And so I got to the part where I stopped increasing in the front and I was ready to check my stitch count to make sure everything was adding up right. And I was 20 stitches short. And I'm like, man, where's the mistake? Is it in the math? Is it in my crocheting? What went wrong? Why am I 20 stitches short? Which, honestly, I could be like, it's fine and keep going, because with this sport weight, 20 stitches is really only like an inch or two. And I could have decided to keep it the way I crocheted it and change the way I wrote the pattern, but I really want it to fit the way I want it to fit. So it really needed to stay to the math. So I went back through my math and I'm like, dude, the math is solid. So what is wrong? And so then I started reading the rows that I wrote, and that's when I realized I was missing increases from the math that I wrote. I didn't write 2 increases into one of the rows, and increasing every 10 rows, that's why I was short 20 stitches. So I had to rip all the way back to the underarm to rework the final front increase rows to include those 2 stitches on the increase row that I had missing. So now the written pattern's fixed, the crocheted garment's fixed, and I can continue on. Basically, I don't really think I can mess up the rest of the sweater, because top-down raglans, this is the hardest part. If you're working a plain one, which this one is all half double crochet plain with just plain ribbing added on afterwards, this is the hardest part, shaping the upper area. Let me go ahead and try it on, because it is a little bit further than I shared last time, and there's more increases, so there's more fronts. This is why I love making top-down sweaters, because you do get to try them on as you go. So it looks very similar to last time. There's just a little bit more fabric that's rolling back in the front, because there's a little more there's a little more fabric. So nothing changed in the sleeves or above the front, in the front panels here. Nothing changed in the back. It fits like a glove. It fits like a dream. It's like the perfect spot under my underarm. There's perfect movement. Now, the thing that's great about all this extra space in the underarm that I added, which I think I mentioned last time, was to help account for the difference between your upper and your full bust, which I still need to get help when it comes time to test this cardigan for some of the larger sizes, because for the smaller sizes you can pretty much get away with averaging close to the same adjustments, but there tends to be a larger gap between the upper bust and the fuller bust in the larger sizes, and I need opinions and help with that because there's not really solid numbers I can find anywhere to use. But anyways, this extra added space under the underarm helps get a nice fit around the sleeve. So I have a black shirt on, which kind of makes it nice for you guys to see. I am not tight or restricted in my arm whatsoever. And I know that's a pattern. The issue a lot of the times with top-down raglan sweaters is the upper arms are too small and too tight, and that's uncomfortable. I don't know why, because it could be up to the designer. Maybe they're using smaller upper arm circumference measurements, or maybe they meant to make it tighter to help keep the cardigan on, because that is one of the problems with seamless cardigans, is keeping them on. I opted to keep a larger upper arm, go tighter around the neck, and fit this shaping seam a little bit better, and then add extra underarm for the fronts. And it's going really well. I'm just kicking myself for having to rip out. It was 20 rows. So yeah, I had to rip out 20 rows, redo them, and now I'm past them. And at this point, I get to just work plain for 50 rows, add some ribbing, come back, do the sleeves, which will have simple tapered shaping, some ribbing on the end of the wrists, and then some ribbing in the fronts. I cannot wait for this cardigan. I just was mad at it because it was literally right after I did my live stream with you guys last week that I sat down, got a couple rows in, got to that point and realized things were off. And I was just angry because I knew what that meant. Luckily, it was a simple fix and I found the mistake pretty easily. So yeah, that is progress on my everyday swing cardi. Oh, that is painful, but at least it is beautiful. So that makes it a little easier to want to stick with it. Absolutely. Frogging is never fun, but it isn't like almost inevitable with designing. At some point it happens because of simple mistakes like that. And here are the last couple rows up close, just so you can see, like, the yarn was unaffected by being ripped out and reworked. You can't even tell, which is surprising because of how soft this is. Soft yarn usually isn't as durable as a little more rougher yarns. And so typically what happens when you frog a really soft and fine yarn is it starts getting super pilly and fuzzy, and I didn't find that to happen with this at all. So that was a pleasant experience. Oh, I love that shape. Yeah, me too. It's my favorite shape to wear, and it's so comfy and cozy. It fits just beautifully, Amanda. I love it. Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, I'm in love with it. I think I forgot to mention, I've been mentioning this colorway was dyed specifically for me. It's called Pumpkin Queen. It's based off my favorite color of orange, and it's exclusive to the new knittery. And I have that link down below. They are currently taking orders for it through email or over the phone. It's not quite up on their website yet. I've been talking to the owner about that being a possibility because they have a full set of exclusive colors too, not just Pumpkin Queen, but one for every employee that works there. And it's a really beautiful range of colors. Yeah, so moving on to my next work in progress. This is the twister top, and I have barely worked on it at all this week. This is the project that I typically take to the bus stop, but my kids have been sick. I'm luckily not that sick, but my son was coughing so hard he threw up. He's been home from school, and my daughter started coughing, so I got my son COVID tested first. We're waiting results, and I've been keeping my daughter home with him just to be safe. And then my 1-year-old is also sick, just like full snot, coughing. Everybody's just not feeling good and tired, and it's been a week. When you've got a house full of sick kids, it's an intense week. But yeah, so I haven't been going to the bus stop. So this has only gotten a few rows since I last showed it to you. I'm just now dipping into the black. So this is Hobbie's Twister Halloween, and I had to recake it because it was falling apart. So you can see I'm just at the end of the purple there, dipping into the black, and I'm still not ready to separate for the body. So this is a design that I'm working on. It's link double crochet, which closes the gaps on this acrylic cotton blend. I absolutely love that so much. So I wanted to try to find a way to not interrupt the colors. So I tried to add the sleeves into the body in a shape that makes sense. It's not going to be the most flattering fit because of that, but you get to keep the top in the same color order. So it's going to be more of a boxy fitting top instead of a fitted top, which is fine. Boxy shapes fit everybody a little bit differently. So I originally thought that I would be able to just join at the normal armhole depth. But then I realized because I can't add underarm stitches without having to go back and later add more sleeve stitches. And this is something I've been playing around with in my mind too, as I've been working rows and trying it on and looking at it. The other thing I could do, but I don't know if I would have the sleeve to do it, and it might pucker weird. So I just have to keep going to really test it out, unless I wanted to cut it out of like some muslin. Is I could add an underarm and fold these sleeves together and sew part of this into the underarm and then sew the sleeves together. Does that make sense? So it would be trapping part of the sleeve into the newly joined underarm. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet, but I'm getting close to the number of rows to find out if that's something I'm interested in doing. For now, I'm still working down the armhole depth. For my top-down raglan cardigan, the armhole depth is set at 8 inches, but it has an underarm cast on. So if I end up connecting this straight to the back, which I can't even reach, there it is. If I end up connecting these two straight together without doing any added underarm, this is going to be pulling the front of my sweater into my underarm, which means I'm going to need a longer armhole depth because it's actually going to be accounting for that underarm space. So I would probably, instead of crocheting to 8 inches, I would need to go something closer to like 10. And that would give me a comfortable space under my arm for them to join. So that is one option outside of the other option, which would be doing a shorter armhole depth, chaining under the underarm to add fabric there, but then I would have to slip stitch or seam part of the sleeve to the underarm and the rest of the sleeves to each other. So it's really, both of those things are going to affect the fit differently, and it's going to be a style choice to make. Obviously, crocheting the armhole depth longer and attaching it later is going to be a simpler version and style to make, whereas the other one is going to be a little more intricate, but might be worth it for the style of fit. I don't know. This one I'm literally winging. I didn't do the math in advance, but it's really pretty. The yarn drapes wonderfully, and I'm also hoping I have enough. My camera's backwards, so I keep adjusting this incorrectly. I hope I have enough. I'm hitting the black, and I only have one more twister. It might be a little more crop than I want it to be before I run out of yarn. But yeah, so far it's been fun. It's also a boat neck style top, which means this is already too far forward for the fit. Like, it's going to fit more like that. Sorry, I can't adjust it because I'm getting confused. But yeah, so that is the twister top, and you can see these things dangling right now. I was going to show those off too. I won a giveaway from J Hook Crochet's YouTube channel, one of her live streams. I try to pop into those when I can, but sometimes on Sunday mornings I get caught up doing family stuff and I don't get to participate. I can just listen. But I did. I was in one of the live streams that she was doing. It might have been her anniversary live stream. And I won these beautiful stitch markers. Let's go ahead and see. I won these beautiful stitch markers from Cath's Eyecatchers, which I did link down below. I linked to the specific product, these skull stitch markers that have matching Swarovski crystals with them. They are so luxurious and fancy, and it goes really well with my Halloween twister. So I've got one at all of my increase it points, and I've also got, this one was gifted to me. This, I've been using it as a progress keeper to mark the beginning of my round, as well as I mark it on the stitch so I can see how many rows or rounds I've worked since I put that in place, which is helping me with measurements. Right now, about 3 rows is an inch. So I'll place it and know if I work 3 rows that I've worked an inch from where I last left off. And can I just say, like, I have so many stitches in the round right now. Like, one round is taking me almost an hour. So this is just, it's a slow going project, but I think overall the results will be worth it. Let me see. It's satisfying when you conquer shape in garment. Yes, that is the challenge I'm working on, is because I've made other people's sweaters, finding ways to create my own design of a sweater that fits hopefully better than the ones that I've made, because I have come into a lot of fit issues specifically for me, and it's a lot to learn. Love, love, love. That is going to be gorgeous. Thank you, Catherine. In my opinion, boxy tops are great for us ladies with a little extra fluff. I really appreciate a nice boxy top. Yeah, I typically don't enjoy boxy tops. So it's one of those things where, like, you either really love it or you really don't. And that's why I'm not quite sure the direction I want to go yet. And it really is going to depend on the measurements that are produced too, because you do need to have enough armhole space. Is that going to leave you enough space for the body? How long are your sleeves? That's stuff I usually calculate in advance. And for this one, I just didn't want to. I just wanted to go. And so those are answers I don't know yet. But yeah, it just to simplify things, it might become a boxy top, which means for people like you, Lacey, who enjoy a good boxy top, you will probably enjoy the fit more than I am likely to. I am enjoying the color and the drape, however. What does the ball of yarn look like? How many balls will it take? So this is what the yarn looks like. You probably asked this before I showed it. Sorry. It is a giant cake. I've used most of it, and I think the label's in here. This is how big the cake was. It was this big around. It was 250 grams. So the Halloween the Twister Halloween, I think, is all completely gone and discontinued, but they do have their regular Twister line, which is the same base of yarn, but in different colors. And yeah, it's this giant, like almost as big as my head, cake of yarn that is 250 grams. And I think for mine, for my size, which is probably going to be the smallest size, like a 32 to 34 inch bust, will probably only take 2. And I don't know how much from there yet. I won't know until I finish this and can do the math on it. Let's see. LOL, Lacey, extra fluff is the perfect description. Y'all, Catherine has Catherine has beautiful stitch markers if you are in the market. She also has jewelry. She's very talented, and I just love her. Yeah, the stitch markers are an amazing quality. They're really pretty. That Swarovski crystal on there, it's just a beautiful added touch. She is in the UK, but shipping from the UK is not that bad for such small items. So that is something to consider. That twister top would make the perfect prayer project or meditation project. Yeah, I mean, because you have to be patient. You have to be mindful. You have to be willing to wait for results to make this. Absolutely. Not this Catherine, though. Which Catherine? I missed her shop's name. Yes, not this Catherine. It's Cath, Cath, Cath's Eyecatchers. I do have the link to her Etsy down below. I don't have her card on me. But yeah, Cath's Eyecatchers. I don't know what that says. I'm assuming that's maybe spam. Is that spam, you guys? Cath's Eyecatcher. She has an Etsy shop. There you go. All right, moving on to my final work in process. This is the Gulls and Slips Cowl. So I have one done, but I didn't like how the hook size that I used, and I wanted something a little bit looser and something with a little more drape. So I decided to make a second sample while filming the tutorial, and I went up, I think, at least a millimeter hook size. And so that's what I've been working on this week. And I also changed the size. So the first one I made was a little bit wider. I snugged it up to the neck and I made it taller. So let me show you what that's looking like. It hasn't been blocked, so it doesn't have quite the drape that this one does, because it looks, I don't know if you guys can tell, but it looks stiffer. It feels stiffer. This is the same yarn, by the way. This is Lion Brand Basic Stitch Premium, which is discontinued, but they do have Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling, which is the better upgraded version of this yarn. So you should still get gauge with it. So this added drape after blocking, this Basic Stitch Premium. This one's not blocked yet. So it is worked up at a looser gauge, but it's not draping as much yet because it hasn't been blocked. So it's a tighter fit. So if you like tighter fitting cowls, this is a tighter, taller cowl to really keep you warm. I do have instructions in the pattern, I think mentioned in the video as well, on how to increase the size. It's an 8-stitch repeat, so you can easily make it wider if you want. And I have the row repeat or round repeat as well, so you can make it shorter or taller. So it's a highly customizable pattern if you don't like this style fit of cowl. But this is what I went for, is this nice tight style. And once I finish the cowl tutorial, I'm going to be making a matching hat tutorial. Turns out this is my size for a hat. Like, check this out. I mean, my hair's in here. That's quite a look, ain't it? Maybe I need to go back and make this my thumbnail. It's the perfect size to fit my head. And I've got strands, whatever. It fits wonderfully. So had I done the decreases, this is the perfect number of repeats for the hat. And I had no idea that was going to happen. So that was a happy accident. I do have enough of this done that I have an idea of what the gauge is going to be, as long as it doesn't change with blocking, that I started grading the hat pattern as well. So I'll have more than one size available when we get there. But for now, I'm just working on the Gulls and Slips cowl pattern. I've made it to the border. I just have to finish filming the border. I got the pattern back from the tech editor. So I'm debating whether I'm going to have this one tested or not, because there's a full-on video tutorial and the written pattern's been tech edited. I don't know that it needs to be tested, but sometimes it's helpful. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I get this pattern tested or just straight up release it? And the hook I'm using is a 6.5 millimeter. So with this slip stitch and waistcoat stitch design, you really have to work everything loosely, and you really have to work with a much larger hook than's recommended for the worsted weight is usually a recommended 5 or 5.5 millimeter hook. This is 6.5, and you're still getting a decently tight gauge. Not so tight because you want it to drape, but decently tight. I will tell you, this thing will be warm because it is dense. Like waistcoat stitch, I don't know why. It just seems so much denser than a regular single crochet. Carrying these floats and locking them in place doesn't really add. Oh, I haven't sent this one to my tech editor yet. Whoops. I sent 3 patterns to her this week this was not one of them. This is the one to go to her next. The reason it hasn't gone in yet is because I'm still waiting on finished dimensions. And then I think that's it, is finished dimensions, which I'll get once I finish this. So, whoops, my bad. This hasn't been tech edited yet, but it will be. But yeah, I lost my train of thought, so sorry. So it probably wasn't too important what I was about to say. But yeah, this is what I've been working on. Yeah, I try to remember it, but I can't. So let me catch up with you guys. Oh, good morning, Maud. I'm a little late, but happy to catch the live. I know how that is. I've been sick this week, so I've been late to my favorite live streams as well. Because I'm like, oh yeah. Like for legitimately at one point yesterday, I was confused about the day and I thought it was Thursday. Then I started planning an extra day because I was excited that I had an extra day. And then I realized it wasn't, that it was Friday after all. It was a jumble of a mess. Hey, Maud. That cowl is pretty. Thank you, Lacey. And thank you, Catherine. I really have enjoyed this challenge. I was challenging myself to design something with everything inside my Land Brand mystery box that I bought earlier in the year, I think maybe over the summer. And I did it. All 3 of the designs, and this is one of them. And I was challenging myself to recreate one of my favorite knit stitches, which is called Gulls and Slips. So this is the crochet version of that. So I think you won't need it to be tested. The pro would be seeing it in different yarns. Yeah, so that is the other thing about testing is getting people to work up your design so that you can see, oh, other people have made it easily, and this is what it looks like in different yarns and colors. I overslept my nap. I wonder if you might have a little bit of a cold. That is like the #1 sign for me if I'm coming down for a cold, is I struggle to get up in the mornings. And I don't typically take naps, and when I'm sick, I do. So I hope you're feeling okay. But yeah, that's the Gulls and Slips cowl. Moving on to check it out. I just emailed my call for testers for the 550 Striped Shawl. So I'm very excited that this is now ready for testing. This one I am getting tested because it has an interesting technique to it. I'm not going to have, well, I don't know. I'm bouncing back and forth whether I want to make 2 videos, one showing the striping technique and one for the actual shawl. But then that would require me to make a second sample. Or if I just want to share the striping technique, which is all you would need for help. So it would be, instead of it being a tutorial from beginning to end how to make this, it would be more like a companion video to go with the written instruction. Like, how do you guys feel about that? Do you follow more just the written instruction patterns? Or do you follow more the video tutorial only patterns and get frustrated when you have to go read a pattern outside the video tutorial? I'm not one who follows a lot of video tutorials because there wasn't an option when I started crocheting. YouTube didn't exist, so you had to learn to read patterns. So learning this mindset of learning off of YouTube and not having to learn to read patterns, I don't really know what that's like. But yeah, so if you haven't seen the 550 Striped Shawl, this uses 5 skeins of it uses a 5 skein set of 50-gram yarn. So it's 5 different colors, 50 grams each. I got this set from Mace of Skeins. It was in her Halloween box, and it used Shadow Cat is the black, Jack-o'-lantern is the orange, Witchy Business is the purple, Cat Eye is the green, and Monster Mash here in the middle. You could easily change out the colors however you wanted. You could use scraps as long as you had 50 grams, or this Monster Mash here, all of the 50 grams is worked in the middle, whereas with the other 50 grams, they're split on either side. You could use 50 grams for, this is color E. You could use 50 grams of color E, 50 grams of color A, which is on the ends and striped in between the other colors. And then you could use 25 grams instead of these 3 colors. You could do 6 colors if you had minis. So for the test, I would totally be open to anyone modifying what they did with their colors A, B, C, D, and E. And you could really come up with something fun to use up scraps or use up mini skein sets or advent sets or whatever. The test is going to run for 4 weeks. So I think I linked the application to apply to test the pattern down below. If not, I know there is a link in my bio on Instagram, because I send out the call for testers to the subscribers first. And I know that is linked in the description box below, where you can sign up to get my call for testers newsletters. It goes out to them first. Then I announce it to you guys on YouTube. And then if I still don't have enough testers, I go to Instagram, and hopefully I get all the testers I need there. If I don't, then I go to Ravelry, and that has almost guaranteed I get enough testers every time. But yeah. Let's see. Lacey, I have been sick too. I'm so sorry. I found that I am a big, huge baby these days when it comes to fevers. No, I don't think there's a such thing as being a baby when it comes to fevers. Fevers are not fun. You have to be a big baby when you have them, because it's your body telling you rest, relax. We're trying to fight this and get better. Thank you, Lori. Turned out amazing. Thank you. I really love it. It's a mindless shaped pattern. The thing you have to pay attention to the most is changing colors. This one I did send to my tech editor, and I got back and she mentioned, she's like, wow, you really have to pay attention to those color changes. And she gave me some notes that help. Like I had said, like using color B. She suggested that I also mention to drop the color before picking up the next, because it uses a technique in order to minimize the number of ends you're going to be weaving in. It uses a technique where sometimes you work 2 right side rows and then 2 wrong side rows. And then sometimes the opposite. So you really just have to pay attention. It makes more sense when you have the yarn in your hands. And that's why I will be having the video tutorial on at least that technique to go with this, because you are working with so many colors and you're striping them. You guys know I was complaining. It created like 80 ends and I was not having it. Lacey, I follow the written pattern usually. That's where I am. Lori says both, but I love the videos. They're easier for me. So do you mind if the video says, hey, this is a companion video. You can get the pattern here, and we're going to be covering these specific techniques within the pattern. Just for the harder parts, because, you don't really have to show how to crochet 10 rows. I prefer a written pattern to accompany it. Video tutorials were great when I started out, but they're too slow for me now. See, that's kind of how I feel if it's not something completely new to me. So maybe I will just go ahead and maybe I'll do it all, right? Maybe I'll have the written pattern, links to specific techniques for the written pattern, and then a separate video that is like slow and all of it. Tiffany, I follow videos, but I like general directions. Companion videos are nice. Perfect. Thank you for your feedback. Aw, Lacey, I hope you feel better soon. I do too. That shawl makes me so happy. I'm a big fan of the shape. Long and shallow is my jam these days. Yeah, so the measurements for this shawl literally came out to the measurements of like a scarf. It's 83 inches long, 15.5 inches wide. So instead of making a boring rectangle, you're making a triangle, but it can be worn like a scarf. Like you don't even have to wear it, with the triangle in the front. Well, I guess you kind of do. You could throw it off to the side. There's so many ways to tie a scarf too that I don't know about. So you could get creative with it. I like companion videos with patterns because I'm a visual learner. Sometimes I would just watch the video and buy the pattern to support. Well, I love people like you, Habiba. It's really nice. I have done that as well. I have bought patterns just to support designers who I really enjoy their work, their quality, and they're adventurous. Like if it's a unique pattern that you can tell they really had to put a lot of hard work into, I really love supporting designers like that. I'm the opposite. I've always struggled with written patterns. So when I discovered YouTube tutorials for crocheting, I was so happy. Now I can make things I've never thought I'd be able to. See, I want to try to be able to reach anyone so they can feel like anyone can make it. that is going to make me feel more likely to kind of have all of the options. There's no reason I can't have a slower full video for people who need it, and just the quick snippet of like, hey, this is kind of a weird assembly. Here's a video if you need help on just the assembly. So it gets quick to the point. You don't have to watch this 1 hour tutorial and try to find the assembly mark, you know, because that's what I'm trying to avoid. I would rather have a written pattern, but will watch a YouTube tutorial if it's my only choice, or if I'm having a problem figuring out a stitch. That's good to know, Catherine. Thank you. I want to make that shawl in a set of 3 100-gram hanks I got from Knit Crate in beautiful greens. Yeah, you could totally do that too. Maybe I should add a diagram to the pattern. Sorry, Max is laying and making the camera shake. Max, my cat. Maybe I'll make a diagram of like you could like color in, because I'm very limited in my digital art, but I can do a little bit of digital art. I could draw out the color changing shapes and allow you to color it in yourself if you wanted to change up the number of colors or the amount of yarn too. That is something I might add. Thank you for the idea, Lacey. I'm with you, Bat Stitch. Yeah, I know Lori started with nothing but video tutorials. I believe I'm on the min now. I'm tired of being sick. Lacey, I feel you. Like, I'm not super sick, not as sick as my kids, but it's just like one after the other. I don't know that anyone in this house has been not sick for very long before we get sick again. It's just, I'm tired of it too. The videos can be fast forwarded or stopped while you catch up. Yes, that is nice for when you have to follow from beginning to end. I like to give just enough information so that someone can continue on to the next point and pause. They can pause at that point, and then I add the next step of instruction. So far, I've been getting good feedback on that style. Oh, you know what? The timestamp options on videos these days make tutorials much more efficient. That is something I've been taking advantage of. Is definitely, it's more time tedious, but to go in and use the timestamp in row 1, timestamp row 2, or this section, that section, so that you could go into the description box and be like, okay, like 2 weeks ago, I crocheted this and life's been crazy and I want to come back and I know I'm at this point, and you don't have to skim through the giant video. Before you just had to scroll back and forth for a while on the videos. Yeah, that's frustrating. I want to avoid that if I can. Coloring chart, that would be cool, right? I've seen it in other indie designers' patterns before, so I'm going to play around with the idea of how I can incorporate that, especially because this is one that I plan to have for free on the blog, and then the potentially a ad-free PDF. I don't know that it would really be of interest because it might be. The pattern's kind of long because it really articulates every color change because of its unique technique of carrying up colors every row. Like, normally you can carry up colors if you work 2 rows because you go back to where your tail was, but this one you go, right side and then right side again, and then turn left side, but it also changes. So it's just a little more, it requires a little more instructions. But yeah, so that is the 550 striped shawl that's ready for testing. I'm looking for 4 to 6 people to test this one. I think, and I think I already mentioned it's a 4-week test deadline, which means this pattern will be coming out. Did I write it down? I didn't write it down. It should be coming out sometime in January. That will give enough time for testers to be able to complete it and make sure it's error-free, or add any stuff that just really makes the pattern better. I have my ice cream party cardi in testing right now, and so far everything's pretty much been solid, but I did get really good feedback on formatting the way that I wrote the sleeves. So I went through and it actually changed my format of the pattern, which is changing my overall pattern template to become something that's even easier to read. If you're someone who designs patterns, especially someone just starting out, it it feels, because I'm like not a super crazy experienced designer. I've only got 20 or so patterns under my belt. It can feel extremely daunting starting out to figure out what your pattern template is. There's wrong ways to write things, so you know to avoid that completely, but there are more than one right ways to write something. So finding your style that you find best fits the needs of the people that enjoy your patterns. It's like a pattern after pattern after pattern exploration, and I'm still getting there. This is my first The ice cream party card is my first sweater design. It's the first time I've ever written out sleeves. So getting through that and testing, it's made my patterns better. So like I can't be more appreciative of testers, because even though my tech editor is like, yeah, this is sound, it went to my testers and they're like, I'm kind of confused about what I'm supposed to do here. And it literally was formatting. I didn't have to change the numbers, add maybe just a couple of words, but it literally came down to spacing, which is interesting. I never really considered that. So yeah. Let's see. Color charts are so much fun. That really opens up a whole new world to scrappy projects and super colorful projects. Exactly. And that's what I want this to be, because this isn't a complicated pattern. It's a very basic shapes. What makes it a little more complicated is your color changes. And I want you to be able to have fun with it and kind of design your own. And so, yeah, that is kind of hopefully the goal with this shawl. It's beautiful. I don't have time with Christmas crocheting, but hope enough people will be able to help you test it. Totally understand that. It is that time of year where if you like to make gifts, it's crunch time. It's December 4th. You've got like maybe 2 weeks, and even less if you have to ship your gifts. So totally understandable. Thank you. I really like the templates on Canva. They are not made for crochet patterns, but they work really good for it. Yeah, I have been just using a basic Google Doc and creating my template that way. I know it's not as attractive, but I find it easier for me to control. But maybe one day I'll get a fancier template. For now, I'm focusing on the meat of the pattern. It would be an excellent Advent project. I think so too. Like, and you wouldn't even need to use color A in between every color if you didn't want to. You could use a very small scrap of something else. So yeah, it should be a fun one. All right. So the only other thing I wrote for check it out is if you are interested in testing any of my patterns, I do have more patterns that I'll need testers for in the next couple of weeks and after Christmas. I've got what other one did I get back from? My puffy pinafore, Annie's pinafore. That one will need to be tested, and then eventually my tops will need to be tested. So other than that, let's move on to Let's Chat. I know we're a little over an hour, but it sounds like the baby's sleeping with David, so I can chat for just a little bit longer. What have you guys been up to this week? What have you been working on? What has your attention? What are you excited about? Or have you just been sick and down in the dumps? Let me know. I know that for me, right after the live stream, we got our Christmas tree up, which was a lot of fun. The kids always really enjoy doing that. We have a couple different sets of colored decorations. And these last couple of years, we've been doing pink and gold, which is what my daughter picked out when she was like 3. And I'm like, pink is not my favorite color. So I'm like, please, can we just do something else? So we ended up doing green and gold, which is the first time we've ever done that combination. And I think it looks really nice. My favorite Christmas decorations are blue and white, but I got to let the kids have their choices too, and very much let them feel involved. So I got my little stick in the tree because our topper this year is Jack from The Nightmare Before Christmas, dressed up as Santa. Last year, David bought me a set that is his topper with all the ornaments, but we didn't put the ornaments on the tree because they're black and they didn't quite look so good, but I did stick Jack on the top of the tree, so it's fine. We got green and gold, but we have Jack on top too. You can even see we got our stockings put up too behind me this year. Jack and Emily's stockings are Nightmare Before Christmas stockings. We have a giant gap right here because apparently my stocking is temporarily misplaced. I think we know the general idea of where it should be. We just have to go out there and get it. But that is why they're hung up in a weird arrangement. That's my spot for my stocking when it comes in. So yeah, so we did that. Other than that, the kids I mentioned, they've been sick all week. So they've been home from school, lots of playing video games. I got a card game, A Night Before Christmas card game called Making Christmas. I got it at Walmart and it's recommended kids age 6 and up. And it's actually really fun. It has like a puzzle piece background for the game. And then there are toy cards and goal cards. And so there's 3 goal cards on the board. And then there are 9 spaces for the toy cards. And you take turns with cards in your hand. You can either swap the cards on the board, swap for what's in your hand, or swap from the draw pile to build the toys that are on the goal card. It's been a lot of fun. Like as an adult, I enjoyed playing it with the kids. And for the kids, it's not too difficult for them to play. Although my 5-year-old, right, it says 6 and up, my 5-year-old misses the concept sometimes. So I like nudge him in the right direction. Like, are you sure that's what you want to do? Let's take another look at what's going on here. But yeah, that's been a really fun game, Making Christmas. So let me catch up with you guys and what you've been up to. Can I test that pinafore without having a model to try it on? It seems like a nice project for my friend that will have a baby end of March. I think that should not be a problem. So I'm like, for children, the fit isn't really hard to do because children typically have the same shape. Even boys and girls typically have about the same body shape. It's not until you go through puberty that your body really starts changing in proportions. And that's where I'm super concerned with fit. Like when I get my cardigans tested, I definitely will need modeled photos for those. But for the children's patterns, I don't think I need a model for them. So yeah, I don't think that should be a problem. Did I miss the socks? Yeah, let me show those off real quick. Here they are. This is the Turkey Trot, Marley Bird's Turkey Trot Mystery Make-Along. Let's see. Working on crochet baskets, and then hubby asked me to make an angel topper for the tree made with, oh my gosh, number 10 cotton thread. So I went from bulky yarn to cotton thread. Ooh, that is quite the jump. I hope your eyes are handling it okay too, because that is the other thing. I've only ever crocheted with thread a handful of times in my life. I made some doilies when I was really young just to try out working with thin yarn and learn to read more complicated lace patterns. But then as an adult, I made some snowflakes as tree ornaments that were really cute. But I typically stay away from working with thread because the hooks are so tiny and those hurt my hands. The real thin steel crochet hooks without some sort of ergonomic support, that's a mess. And then seeing, it's really hard to see your stitches. Well, good luck on that. What pattern are you using? Did you find a good vintage one? Did you find a newer one? Are you making it up as you go? I have crocheted angel ornaments in the past. I don't know if I ever shared it on my channel. It was several years ago. When the year my grandmother passed away, I inherited all of her craft supplies. She's the reason I wanted to learn to crochet. She would crochet when she babysat me and my brother all the time, and she made wonderful dolls and amazing blankets. And like, I went to her and said, I want to learn how to crochet. And she told me I was too young. And then there's a fun side story about that. But I got her acrylic yarn stash. And that Christmas, I crocheted angel ornaments using her yarn stash and gifted it to family members. Tiffany, I'm working on a few crochet ornaments for our tree, dreaming up some crochet Santa hats. Ooh, yeah, so I actually do have plans to make some Santa-inspired the pinafore. So for the tutorial, I actually have it sitting right here because it came yesterday. I ordered more Lion brand Vanna's Choice. And this is like a vintage Christmassy red. I'm going to make Annie another pinafore, but trim it in the Go for Faux white around the top and around the bottom of the skirt for like a Santa dress. And actually, I should probably do that this week so I can get photos before Christmas ends. But yeah, what are you thinking of? Do you have a Santa hat pattern that's your favorite? Are you going to make one up? What yarn do you plan on using? I am on the last couple rows of my second simple asymmetric mohair shawl. The kids were coming today, but not now. I am so sad. I know, I'm sorry. The kids are sick. I don't want to risk you getting sick, but it is for the best. And we should see you next weekend to do cookie decorating and gingerbread houses. But Lori's, I've seen pictures of her simple asymmetric mohair shawl. It's really pretty. For the second sample, I believe she's using the Hobbii Diablo. Aren't you using Diablo on the second one? Held with the Happy Sheep Magic Sock Wool. And it's coming out really, really pretty. That sounds fun. My Layla's birthday was the day after Thanksgiving, so we got her Uno and a super fun game called Teledoodles. Okay, tell me what Teledoodles is. Do you think it's age appropriate for my 5 and 6-year-old? They love playing games with us, but it's kind of a bit of a struggle to find a game that makes everyone happy. And I know your Layla is quite a bit older than my kids. Pretty socks. Thank you. Yeah, they turned out pretty good. You can go back to the beginning of this video when it ends for my my little bit of nitpicking about the bottom of the slippers. I love making socks a lot. I want to learn to knit just to make socks. I say do it. It's not that I don't like crochet. I just think that knitting makes better socks just because of the way that the construction works. So crochet makes great slippers. I think crochet makes better slippers than knitting does because they're sturdier and they're heavier and they're thicker, but knitting makes better socks. So definitely be patient with yourself. And I would learn the basic stitches and then maybe start with worsted weight socks just to get the techniques down before jumping down to tiny fingering weight socks that will take you forever, because they do, but I find it to be worth it. I'm working on an American flag blanket, hoping to finish it tomorrow. Oh, wow. Blankets are massive, so you've got to be close to the end. I've got my fingers crossed for you. Is this a gift? Are we rushing to gift it? Amanda, that is beautiful. I bet your family really cherished those. They did. They absolutely did. Yeah, I wanted to do something special. And that was what came to mind. Angel ornaments using her stash. I can't wait to see that baby Santa Annie dress. Yeah, I think it's going to turn out really cute. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before with the pinafore. It uses more than 3 skeins of yarn for the 2-year-old size, and I only had 3 skeins, so I just stopped the skirt. But for this one, I ordered enough yarn, and I will be continuing the skirt till it's complete full length, which was just a couple rows longer. So I'm excited to see that as well. I am curious because it is a little heavy. How heavy it's going to be as the sizes go up and how well the straps are going to hold up. But I did design it with no ease at the waist. So that should eliminate some of the weight. It should be sitting at your waist above your hips. And the weight should be there instead of pulling from the straps. How cute would a kit? Oh, that would be so cute. Oh, I also, can I reach it? Let me see. No, I don't have them. I have in a basket nearby, but not quite. I bought holly buttons, glitter holly buttons that I wanted to put on her pinafore too, that I think are going to be super cute. But a candy cane striped pinafore would be super cute. Let's see. I use a bright task light. Ah, okay. I'm using an angel pattern from a booklet from American School of Needlework. Ooh, I've made this angel for so many people, but never for us. He also wants snowflakes. I mean, it's a ton of work, but I can vision that tree and it is spectacular. So I hope that you do power through and it does happen. And I want to see pictures if it does. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year. Yes. So that would be a yes to the Diablo, Hobbii Diablo on your shawl. So Teledoodles is perfect for that age. It's like a cross between that old game telephone and doodling. So there's little dry erase notebooks and there's a card with secret words, and then you pass the notebooks around a circle to each player, and the first person sees the word and draws it. And then the next person tries to guess what they drew and write the word on the next page. And then the next person hold on, I must be on top chat. Then draws that word, and the last person tries to guess what the picture is and right. That sounds so much fun. Okay, I'm gonna have to get that Teledoodles. I think especially because my 5 and 6-year-olds have very different drawing skills, this would be even more fun. We can do family photos next Saturday if the kids here to finish. I know, that's what I'm thinking. If I can finish Annie's pinafore in time, we could do. Lori makes the most beautiful Christmas tree, and she has a fireplace right next to it. I love taking Christmas photos at her house. Flag blanket is a Christmas gift from my boyfriend. I started it months ago, then went on a hat making binge. Oh, see, that is what I like to do. When you have like a giant project, a giant blanket to make, just follow it right up with like quick finish happy makes. That's why you guys see me working on so many things all the time, and like how now I'm finding my patterns are about to be ready to be like batch released. Like I'm going to be calling for testers almost every week over the next month, which then means a new pattern will be released almost every week of the following month. Hi Max. Because I have to work little by little over everything. I don't know. I can't just focus on one thing. But I hope he loves his flag blanket. Then draw. Oh, I already did that one. Sorry, guys. It's so special when your husband appreciates your art so much that they ask you for them to make them things. That is really special. Absolutely, Catherine. I got Teledoodles from Five Below. Is that a shopping place, Five Below? Very true, Lacey. Yes. Teledoodle sounds like fun. I think I'll have to get that too. Right? It like even not just for like 5 and 6-year-olds, but it would be fun with adults too. All right, you guys, I'm all caught up on chat and we're past our time. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you all so much for joining me on this Saturday morning or afternoon or evening for you, maybe. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I will see you for a live next Saturday. And until then, happy crafting. Bye, guys.